Over the last 2 decades, we have been studying Dharma books every week, 1 chapter at a time, 1 verse each week, each session for an hour and 20 minutes of contemplation and discussion. This week, we studied a very special chapter from the scripture of Buddhism, the principle of the nature. After all these years, I feel that I am finally ready, and you are ready to dive into this chapter, which directly guides us to explore the essence of true nature. We have never tackled this section of the book before. Do you know why? Because this chapter can be really mind-boggling with the abstract concepts and apparent paradoxes. The whole chapter functions like a sea of many koans. I don't say this to intimidate you. Actually, the effort to understand the 31 verses of this chapter can be very enlightening. The concept of true nature includes 2 principles, which are like 2 sides of a coin. With only one side, there is no coin. By focusing on only one aspect of true nature, our understanding cannot be whole. If this is confusing, please do not worry. Through inquiry, contemplation, and study, clarity arises. Here is a chart that illustrates the dual principles of true nature. In explaining the principles of true nature, there can be complicated terms that can trip us up. So I created this chart so you can see the many expressions for non-duality and duality. In this chart, all the terms under the A column are synonyms for one principle, and all the terms under the B column are synonyms for the second principle. Let's compare the terms in each column from A to B to get familiar with the 2 principles of true nature. 2 principles of true nature, 2 aspects of universal truth: non-duality and duality, great and small. Great, small does not really mean the size scale. Great means more like totality, and small means more individuality. It is defined as, in our scripture book, great means the original essence of all things in the universe. The original essence of all things in the universe. Small means the myriad phenomena distinguished by their shapes and forms. The 2 principles of true nature can be also expressed as one truth and many paths. True voidness and marvelous existence. Noumenal and phenomenal in philosophy. Dharmakaya Buddha and Fourfold Grace in Buddhism. We use Dharmakaya Buddha Fourfold Grace for our prayers. We sing Dharmakaya Buddha Fourfold Grace. Dharmakaya Buddha is the main body of truth, the essence of truth. Fourfold Grace is more manifestation from the original essence of truth, such as grace of heaven and earth, parents, ancestors, fellow beings, friends, community, laws and teachings. So all the manifestation form and we call it fourfold grace. So Dharmakaya Buddha always goes with fourfold grace. It is also like universal consciousness and individual thoughts. Reality is also both non-changing and changing. It is both permanent and impermanent. In our sutra, Ilwan Sangbao says, viewed as permanence, Ilwan unfolds into an infinite world that is ever abiding, spontaneous, just as it is. Viewed as impermanence, Ilwan unfolds into infinite worlds through the cycle of formation, duration, decay, and extinction of the universe, and the birth, aging, illness, and death of all beings. At both sides of permanent and impermanent, there is the word infinite. In the impermanent part of the nature, an infinite world, I interpret that as more perpetual, everlasting world. The second part of impermanent aspect of the words infinite worlds means countless, numerous, like billions of different phenomena world. Also, these two principles can be expressed as equanimity and passing emotions. Usually when we talk about true nature, we think about calm, clear oneness. But actually, when we have a lot of passing emotions, fluctuating thoughts and emotions such as sorrow, frustration, reactivity, and joy, that part is actually another aspect of true nature. Just like waves in the ocean. Our passing emotions are like waves, and then ocean is like equanimity. And ocean, waves, we cannot separate them. All kind of our human experience of our minds and thoughts, feelings cannot be separated from our original calm state of equanimity. And the final comparison in this chart is no beginning and no end, and cause and effect. This is an important aspect. You will find these expressions in a lot of Buddhist texts. There is a very significant quote from Sotaesan, the founding teacher of Won Buddhism, about this. The founding master said, the urgent matter is not to teach everyone all the thousands of scriptures, or to encourage them in all the thousands of good deeds. Rather, the most urgent matter is to help them believe in and awaken to the principle of no arising or ceasing, and the principle of cause and effect. You can see that the two sides of the chart are like the two sides of a coin. Do you? These two sides of nature seem to be different, but they are actually one, mutually grounded in one another. To make it easier for practitioners like us, all the enlightened teachers explained these two attributes of truth with the different words, giving us many synonyms. But these words in the chart are just the tip of an iceberg. When you look at the one circle, Ilwan Sang, what comes to your mind? When I contemplate this symbol, I perceive the two principles of universal nature. In this circle, do you see the image of yin and yang? Do you also see the image of no yin and yang? To embrace the whole concept of the Ilwan Sang circle, it is essential for us to clearly realize the two aspects of universal nature. From this perspective, when we look at a tree, we see the whole tree. we perceive the roots of the tree as well as the beauty of a constant change in the branches, leaves, and flowers. The relationship between the two principles is also like the ocean and waves, great and small. The great expanse versus local conditions that come and go. Imagine the Atlantic Ocean, one single body of water. That is what is meant by great, non-changing. Now picture all kinds of waves. That is small, ever-changing. The two principles can also be depicted as an infinite empty sky, along with the dynamic changes in the atmosphere. From the clear open space come clouds, wind, rain, and thunder. From these insights, we can recognize the fundamental source from which all our thoughts, feelings, and perceptions arise. For example, when I'm upset or frustrated, I try to remember. Sometimes it's hard to try to remember, but I try to remember that my fluctuating feelings and thoughts are only one aspect of human nature, and they are subject to change. I can lose a lot of time and energy and make myself miserable, getting trapped in limiting thoughts. When that happens, I question what the root of my distress is. Deep questioning leads me to turn inward to reconnect with the realm that is free from judgment and reactivity. In our everyday lives, there are two primary ways we can calm our disturbed minds. One, with a patient mind, we pause and try to be a good person by not being reactive. Be patient, pause. Two, by meditating on the two aspects of universal truth, we accept where we are and return to our true nature. Which one sounds easier? Truth is not just one side of the chart or the other. It is the integration of both perspectives. Human nature, like universal truth, contains both the unchanging essence, universal consciousness, and the changing phenomena such as our thoughts, experiences, and conditions. Embracing both dimensions, permanence and impermanence, voidness and marvelous existence, we gain a more complete understanding of reality and of ourselves. Master Chongsan said, "This world is founded on the principles of non-changing and changing. The principle of non-changing is simply and naturally what it is, without beginning or end, neither first nor last. It is the original essence of truth, free from arising and ceasing. The principle of changing is associated with the formation, duration, decay, and dissolution of the universe, the cycle of the 4 seasons, a human being's birth, aging, illness, and death, and the fluctuations of good and ill fortune in human life. Flowing with the change," Master Chongsan said, "we cultivate new states of mind and correct obsolete habits, customs, and systems. By modeling ourselves on the impermanent aspect of nature, we must change appropriately where change is needed. But by modeling ourselves on the permanent aspect of the universe, we must refrain from change when change is not appropriate. What do you think is the key point of this message? By accepting the fundamental realities of our universe, we learn to adapt in harmony with life's constant changes, while remaining grounded to the unchanging essence of truth. With everything around us in flux, we remain steady by holding on to honesty, kindness, and integrity. Dear friends, I hope what I've shared today gives you some grounding for your Dharma contemplations. If you'd like to explore this more, you may check out the 360 Dharma talks on our temple channel. If that's not enough, you're welcome to join our Thursday Dharma study sessions. All are welcome.